All right, good Tuesday morning. This is the All About Nothing podcast, kind of daily show. I am Barrett Gruber, host of the All About Nothing podcast with Zach King. You can find me across all social media at Barrett Gruber. This is Mr. Bill Kimler, host of Black, White, and Blue in the South with Dr. Jamil Brooks. You can follow him at Political Bill SC. Good Tuesday morning, Bill. You had a full weekend.
I did put just about 1,500 miles on my car in 3 days, and it was a wonderful trip.
Yeah. Is there now? You had contacted me about partway. I guess you would have arrived, and apparently through just some of the initial. Did you make contact with the author of a book that had a photo of your kin?
All right, so I'll give the quick synopsis. I never knew my grandfather on my mother's side. He had actually left her and the family before I was born, when she was early teenager years, I think. So I never met him. I've heard about him, but I never met him. World War II vet is all I know, in the Navy, and that's about the extent of my knowledge. He had passed recently. I'd say maybe 3-4 years ago. He had passed, and he had taken up a new life in Virginia, with a new family who had no idea he had 3 kids back in the East Coast.
Oh, no.
He basically started anew. I was like, okay, well, isn't that interesting? So I started a quest earlier this year to learn more about him and that side of the family that I knew nothing about. Literally, just a empty spot in my family history. I had come to learn through a book that was written called The Italians of Sunnyside, that there is a history on that side of the family, the Italian side, that is actually quite amazing. It turns out that my grandfather was born in a town in Arkansas called Lake Village. And he was part of a generation, or I would say his parents were, a part of a migration from Italy to work cotton plantations in Arkansas. So after World War II, of course, and the slaves were emancipated, that long drawn out process that was, these plantations suddenly became unworked and unoccupied because they couldn't force the slaves to work there anymore. And they were like, we're out of here.
A victim of progress.
I know. So somehow they were able to work through some sort of mediator to bring over many families from this small village called Ostra in Italy to come to America. And then they worked the plantation farms as sharecroppers. And the first wave came in the late 1800s, and half of them died. I mean, they lived in this ideal village, perfect climate in Italy, close to Eden as you can get, promises of a new life and riches in America, and they end up working these same cotton fields that slaves had worked just a decade or two prior. And they died. The conditions were harsh, the malaria and the disease, and they were just dying by scores, and then worked to death by the landowners. My grandfather's parents, my great-grandparents, came over in the second wave of Italian immigrants in the early 1900s, settled there, worked the farm, somehow managed to have 12 kids in the process. One of them was my grandfather. They all worked farms for their childhoods, and then many of them left the area to other parts. Many of them entered the World War II, and so on. So anyhow, I went out there kind of just to explore this Lake Village, small town, 2,000 people near the Mississippi River. It's actually along a lake called Lake Chaco.
And it still exists. This is
the village is there.
Town.
2,000 plus people. There's a McDonald's. There's a couple of traffic lights. There's a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got a little village feel to it. Nothing big. So this book called Italians of Sunnyside told this tale, and in this book were many old-time pictures that this lady had collected, several of which contained pictures of my great-grandparents, and one was a family photo that had my grandfather as a young boy. That was the only picture I've ever seen of him, to be quite honest, since his obituary. And I went out there, and on a lark, I called this lady. I found her number on the internet, gave a call. She picked up. 90-year-old woman had put this book together. And she said that she would love to meet me and tell me more about that family. and what other information she had. So Barrett, it got better the next day. Not only did she agree to meet me, she actually brought some of my relatives along with her so I could meet them.
No
So,
kidding.
so these would be my grandfather's brother's children. So my mom's first cousins.
Yeah.
Again, people whom I didn't even know existed. And this is actually close relation. I mean, if you can imagine, your parents' cousins would be considered very close.
Yeah. I know mine lives. I have Myrtle Beach. They live in Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
Like I moved to South Carolina. 10 years later, they moved relatively to South Carolina. So yeah, absolutely.
So I got to meet 3 of them. And it just was the best day, Barrett. Not only do we meet in a little museum room at the church, and chat for an hour or two and look over pictures and photographs. And I saw documents of my great grandparents' immigration papers through Ellis Island, all stamped and certified, and just amazing history they were able to produce. They were very curious about me because my grandfather apparently was the black sheep of that 12-child family. They knew very little about him. They hadn't seen him in decades. And even when he was there visiting, he didn't say much. He was kind of quiet, never, always kept to himself.
Yeah.
And so they were just excited to learn more about a branch of their family that they really had no visibility to. So they were very close. They took me on a tour of the area for several hours in the car. They lived in a homestead. They had houses near each other. I mean, this is a tight-knit family with deep roots in that community. I looked at the Catholic Church, and there was a gate there with the name of my grandfather's brother engraved on it because it was dedicated to him. Joe Mazzanti was his name. And then, Joe, gosh, that's the name of my uncle. That's the name of my brother. I mean, we're all there's names after him. So it was just neat, Barrett, not to get too long and boring, but to be able to just randomly connect with really close relatives you never knew you had.
Yeah.
Was a fun experience. And the fact that they were cool people. I mean, one of them owned the Chinese restaurant in town. And I got a nice big free meal out of her at the end of the day. I treated them to lunch, of course, so it wasn't just me out there getting free food. But just extraordinarily friendly. They invited me to their homes. I'm going to have to go back. We just really enjoyed each other's company. One of the guys, he is in charge of the public defenders for a multi-county region there in Arkansas.
No, that's a tough
He oversaw public defenders. Yeah, as you can imagine. But extraordinarily nice people, Barrett. So I'm really happy. 600 miles there, door to door from here. So, and it was a very easy trip. Boring, very boring trip, but very easy.
I don't disagree that I don't know. There are parts. It depends on what your definition of boring is, because like I see like you get into like northern Alabama, and then because northern Alabama is not the same as northern Georgia. It's not as mountainous. It's a little hilly. There's a lot of forests. I think it's beautiful. Northern Mississippi is beautiful. And then in Arkansas, like what did you think about like?
Well, I only really crossed into the southern border.
Oh, okay.
So crossed the Mississippi in Mississippi and crossed it, and then just turned a little north, and then right over the borders where I stopped. So I was really in the southeastern tip of Arkansas. So I can't say I saw the great state all that much, but what I saw, I mean, right there along the lake, it's lake life. So you can imagine it's going to be really beautiful no matter what.
So are we going to have an extended version of this story on the Black, White, and Blue in the South? Any potential for, was there any interviews done? Anything like that?
Oh, I mean, definitely interviews. I did some recordings.
Awesome.
And I don't know if there's anything fascinating about it other than just, families giving up some secrets and saying what's going on.
The comments in the TikTok, people want to know. They think that I've seen multiple comments, people saying this is a really fascinating story and they want to hear more. So that should encourage you to potentially, put that out there. I would love to hear more about it. So
I'll tell you what blew my mind the most is that my great grandmother died in 1990, and she spoke very little, broken English, even up until her dying day. She was, Italian. But the fact that I was in college at that time and didn't know my great grandmother even existed. Like there was a point of time where we overlapped in age, and I could have gone to see my great grandmother, and didn't even know that was even possible. And I feel a little bit of regret for not knowing and not taking advantage of it. But it's just cool to think that it was possible. So I visited their gravesite. So I took some pictures of their headstones where they were laid to rest many years ago. And it's just amazing to think of that history. And we're able to trace the family roots back to the 1700s now. So there is actually somebody in Italy who's maintained a handwritten family tree that goes to somebody in the 1760s in Italy, and then all these branches that now has my name on it. I mean, that
That's
blows my
really
mind.
cool.
This massive tree, and I am but just a little leaf there at the end. But it's kind of cool to know that that's how far back some of my roots can go.
Well, that's exciting. I'm glad you decided to make that trip because
Yeah.
that is, for my family lineage, we've had the benefit of my uncle before he passed away. He had done a lot of work on the Gruber side of the family. My brother did an extensive amount of work on my mother's side, the Zorzi side of the family, which is Zorzi is an Italian Austrian town, and which lays right on the border. So because of land disputes between Austria and Italy, we're never quite certain which side of the family is, or that side of the family is, whether they're Austrian or whether they're Italian, or the back and forth. Either way, 1945 Zorzi's, not really liked by most of the world, I guess, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I do real quick want to tell everybody tomorrow night, August 20th, is going to be a Soul House Sessions with Preach Jacobs at the USC Koger Center for Fine Arts. That is going to be at 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. with
5 p.m. or a.m. What?
5 p.m. Yeah, sorry,
5
Bill.
p.m. Okay, I gotta make sure we set that clock properly.
I know you're only presentable at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm wiped out by 5 p.m. 5 p.m. I'm eyeing that bed.
I don't blame you. Conversation with Nikky Finney, who is, of course, a columnist, activist, and she's a poet. But as well, she's also a professor at the University of South Carolina, and she's going to be having a conversation with Priest Jacobs, which is going to be one of the episodes of his upcoming podcast.
So you're producing? Are you going to be there with your equipment and cameras and all that stuff?
I have not been asked to do that. So
are you going to be there anyway doing it?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there as a spectator. Okay. Holding my phone up trying to record. No, I should be able to. We're gonna. That'll be one of the first episodes that comes out on his new podcast, which will be also here on Big Media.
Hey,
so that is another podcast that's being added this year alone. Let's see, we added Politically Speaking. Well, that's the only one so far that we've added, right?
And then you've got 2 more coming up.
Yeah, we've got The Awakening that's going to be coming out, and now the Preach Jacobs podcast. So
now, if you would only bring back to life what the pod was, that
September,
you'd really have an empire.
September.
Of what year?
This year.
This year, okay.
You're gonna get an invitation for that. We're one of the most I will say one of the most difficult things about. Oh, just to mention, you can follow. The tickets are available to Eventbrite, or you can go to the Koger Center website and get tickets through that. There will not be tickets at the door, and there are only like a handful left. So this is almost sold out. So again, it's Soul House Sessions featuring Nikky Finney. Also going to be artwork on display by Lopez. Preach is going to be cultivating the music. So it's going to be a very interesting night. And Nikky Finney is a big name when it comes to poetry and activism and stuff. So it's going to be a really good thing. What was I about to say? I can't remember. September. What the pod was that is coming back in September. One of the difficult things is having to cultivate the funny back into my Instagram and TikTok feeds, because as you can imagine, with as much as I send you in content, it is very political and very, I would almost say sometimes fear mongering. So I'm putting enough into my search that I'm trying to bring back the funny videos. A lot of the funny stuff is just shocking, like people eating foods that when I watch the videos, their gagging makes me gag, and it's a roller coaster of emotions. So trying to work all that stuff back in, I am finding myself out of breath, and I think part of it is because I went this weekend to get work done. I started a new tattoo, which I have covered because it's um, in the healing process before we can go at it again. And they have a cat, and I suffer from allergies from cats, and it's starting to, I can feel it starting to take effect. So I'll double up on my my allergy pills this morning if I think about it. But it's the tattoo's coming along. I show you. I can send you a picture of what it looked like the night before, but make sure you've not eaten yet or have eaten.
I'll
Yeah,
pass. I'll
you
pass.
passed. That's
Thank you.
fair.
I appreciate the offer. And I'll politely decline.
Also, want to remind everyone the Soda City Comic Con 2025 is coming up this weekend at the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center. I did get the layout for where all of the vendors and everything are going to be, and the All About Nothing podcast and Big Media table is going to be back in the location that it was at 2 years ago, which is the first. As soon as you walk in the door and you head down towards where the panel room is, our table is the first table on the right. We're going to be right across from the T-Mobile fiber table, which apparently is new. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, maybe we can get tapped into for better internet this weekend.
Oh,
Because
will Zach be with you?
Yeah, Zach's going to be there. Ami's
Good.
going to be there from Welcome to
Good.
Wonderland. We may, that is just going to be sort of a base of operation because
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to turn down the invitation to join you all, but we had other Comic Cons to attend that day.
You did do a lot of traveling this past weekend. It is a lot of fun, legitimately. If it was something that you all wanted to join us at, absolutely, I'd make sure that you got. No, I'm just getting a head shake. No, okay. So, but we are going to go live pretty frequently this weekend. We got interviews that we're going to try and get with Katie Sackhoff, John Heater from Napoleon Dynamite. Going to really try and Randy Quaid is one we're going to try and get. I'm hoping. Yeah, I know.
You're not going to get Randy Quaid, man. I will bow down and kiss your feet if Randy Quaid ends up on your show somehow.
So one of the
not that I'm not a big fan, by the way. Believe me, I'm not fanboying over Randy Quaid. I just know that's a big name, and that would be something big for you to get.
We're gonna try.
Do you have your questions lined up just in case you do have them?
Oh yeah.
You don't want to be fumfering in your short time with them.
Most of them are about Betty White. So
I don't know that angle.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Have you ever seen the movie Hard Rain with Christian Slater?
I have not.
Okay. First of all, not a good movie, but a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed Hard Rain. I thought it was easily. It's Christian Slater, Minnie Driver, Morgan Freeman, Randy Quaid, Betty White. Like the cast is amazing, and I it's kind of like Tom Cruise. I don't know that Christian Slater's a great actor, but I like a lot of the things he does. It's like Tom Cruise. I think Tom Cruise is a good actor. He's a weird person, but I really enjoy his movies. I just started rewatching Dead Reckoning for like the fourth time.
There's a movie he's in, directed by Ron Howard, and gosh, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's with him and Nicole Kidman as a young couple emigrating to America from, I believe, Ireland. And it was about, starting a family. It was basically a true story of Ron Howard's, lineage, his great grandparents or something coming to America. And it was a fantastic, epic film. I want to say it's Coming to America, but obviously that's not it. It's some other film with Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise that was just phenomenal. It has a lot of staying far. That is it. Phenomenal film. I can't recommend that enough. And I thought he was a fantastic actor in it. So he does have acting chops.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But I am a fan of Randy Quaid. While I'm not a fanboy, I'm not, it's not something like I fawn over him. I look for every Randy Quaid because obviously those are going to come few and far between now. But I do enjoy Randy Quaid. I know there is a lot of things that he and I probably disagree on pretty adamantly, but honestly, at his advanced age, I can't imagine he's willing to put up a fight, So we'll pull him into the green room. We'll sit down with him. I'm hoping and get to talk to him. Katie Sackhoff is another one. I'm really hoping that we're going to be able to pull into a room and sit down and talk to, because that'd be
Randy
fantastic.
Quaid's a bigger name than Katie Sackhoff. You'd have to.
Oh, 100%.
But Katie Sackhoff is huge. I mean, she's got a large fan base, especially in that Star Wars community. You don't want to discount that at all. She's
No.
very well known.
And I can't find Battlestar Galactica on any streaming services, so I'm just going to have to go and buy like the first few seasons, or download the first few seasons, so that over the next few days I can at least get a little bit caught up.
Well, what about the plan that you said that you were going to also interview Putin and Zelensky and try to negotiate a peace yourself while you're there at the Comic-Con? Is there any chance of that happening?
If they do wind up showing, I know that Governor McMaster's would probably welcome Putin into the state of South Carolina. He'd be happy to hold a summit.
Do you think McMaster is going to deploy the National Guard to Columbia for this Comic-Con to keep things under control?
If he's willing to send 200 troops from the South Carolina National Guard to what is basically a non-event in Washington, D.C., I would put it up there as.
Oh, no, let's be fair. I mean, we laugh at it and so on, but non-event, I mean, you did see the violent Subway sandwich attack, right? It was, probably the worst act of violence in D.C. since January 6th.
It was very focused, though. That was a very focused event.
It was an Italian sandwich, from what we could tell.
It was a Subway.
And that's loaded with very, very sharp slices of meat.
I will say that was probably a $15 or $16 sandwich.
Yeah, in D.C., certainly.
And deploying South Carolina National Guard troops at the cost of us, South Carolina taxpayers, which will not be reimbursed by the United States. $15 sandwich, $300 million bill. They don't really equate. I have a hard time wrapping my head around exactly what it is that we're paying for, because again, and yeah, we joke. I do not, is throwing a sandwich at somebody a violent act? Potentially. I mean, but it still doesn't justify what happens next. I mean, so West Virginia, South Carolina, and I think another state are sending troops. So 3 states are sending what potentially is going to be about 800 troops to Washington, D.C., on top of the National Guard that's already been there, that's there. And technically, this 48-hour, which the Constitution allows for, has already run out. It ran out last Thursday. So somehow they've continued it. I saw a news conference where they tried to tout that there were some exponentially high number of arrests, but then when you go into it, there were things like traffic stops, not arrests. There have been more warnings given out than citations, and all of this. And you're right, it was all because Big Balls got beat up by 2 14-year-olds and they stole his car. This is such an overreaction.
They didn't even steal his car. No, let's get the story straight. It wasn't his car. So there was somebody else's car that was in the process of being carjacked, and he stepped into it and then got beat up by 2 teenage girls.
So he tried to be a hero.
Right. I mean, that is what the nation needs. We didn't ask for it. We needed it. We needed super Big Balls out there in the streets, vigilanting. I just finished that new Daredevil TV series.
Good, right?
Phenomenal show. And I'm just thinking that with all the vigilantes in that show, you can now add Big Balls to the mix of, just those who are called to serve.
It's,
I mean, there was a photo of him shirtless, blood dripping down his face,
it was the result of him getting beat up by 14-year-olds.
All 20 ball pounds of him just sitting there, just all beat up. And that's what triggered everything.
Could be your hero.
Yeah, it triggered everything. I mean, if it had been a young African-American man who was beat up, we'd still have, a free DC.
Yeah, we'd never heard anything of it. Like, this is, I will acknowledge that crime in Washington, D.C., in some of the areas is not what I would be comfortable walking around in the streets in.
Are you comfortable walking around the streets of South Carolina that has a higher violent rate of crime
Absolutely
than
not.
DC does?
Absolutely not. If in my head, so I have a concealed weapons permit, and in my head, if I think, oh, in order for me to go out, I should probably carry on my ankle or on my back or something like that. If that is one of the thoughts, then ultimately I'm thinking I probably am not going. South Carolina has a higher violent crime rate than Washington, D.C. And I don't even think that's per capita. I think that it's actually a higher number than the Washington, D.C. And I know South Carolina is a larger state, but we have some extremely high violent crime rates in
Well, there was
places like
videos
Conway,
going
Myrtle
around.
Beach,
There's
Columbia.
videos going around last week of some violent fights occurring in Greenville.
Yeah.
You know,
I
that
mean,
the police couldn't control. We need National Guard deployed there promptly, but we're out of them.
yeah.
McMaster sent them all off to DC at the president's bidding for some
So
reason.
again, I want to make jokes about it, but it is what is the next step is, I fear, and it only makes
Well, I've
sense
got
because it's the most possible next thing, is that cities like New York and Los Angeles and Chicago and
yeah.
Atlanta, like these are and what I was watching a program this weekend. I think it was on MSNBC, or I guess it's MS now. But they were talking about, Houston is a blue city. San Antonio is a blue city. Like, these are cities in Texas that are having a pretty decent turnout and protests to Trump and his administration. What is going to happen when Donald Trump says, well, Columbia is a blue city? Like, what's going to happen when Donald Trump now sends the National Guard into states like Texas and Mississippi
I'll
and
tell you, the
South
people I have
Carolina?
friends who live in DC. They're pissed, and
Yeah.
this type of extended military presence is going to incite violence in and of itself. This
Yeah.
is the United States that does not take well to dictatorships and lack of freedoms. So it's inciting violence, and it's going to be a self-perpetuated issue caused by these actions.
Well, with the um, ramping up of the election season next year, and a lot of I think that we're going to see more protests come along. I saw where Donald Trump is trying to work in an executive order currently that would eliminate mail-in ballots, which is, it's not something the president. So legally, the president has no power. He can write an executive order and sign it, but legally he can't do it. States run elections. The federal government has nothing to do with elections. That's just how it's been for 249 years. That's how it is. But the likelihood is that he's going to write it, and there is going to be more and more protests going through. Ultimately, he's writing his own demise. Like, this is just leading up to this over control of the situation, and it's only going to harm him. It's only going to harm the Republicans. They're basically writing their own obituaries by allowing
No. You've got the next generation of JD Vance, who, by the way, has been sent off to the other side of the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if you haven't heard a peep out of him recently, have you?
Well,
he has been, while this event was going on in Alaska, he was literally the opposite side of the planet.
Yeah.
Just moved out of the way.
Had a pretty large majority of the leaders from the European Union come to the United States with Zelensky to meet with Trump. And the first thing they did when this meeting got scheduled was they sent JD Vance away to keep him out of the room. Like, ultimately, that relationship with JD Vance is kind of that relationship with Trump and Pence. Like, Pence was there, but Pence was quiet. Pence didn't get to say anything. Yeah. Now we're at the point where I think JD Vance has embarrassed Trump enough. And I say that.
Well, when Trump shares a video that has fat JD Vance in a car, I mean, what is that? That's your own Veep. That's your boy. And you sent that video out under your name. Man, that is embarrassing.
That's hilarious. Well, I know we got stuff to do. I just want to remind everybody, August 20th, USC Koger Center for the Arts SOULHAUS Sessions with Priest Jacobs, featuring Nikky, author, columnist, and activist. Also artwork featured by Lopez, and music cultivated by Priest Jacob. Tickets available at Eventbrite. You can check the show notes or at Priest Jacobs. Thank you, Bill.
Have a good time.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. I'll wrap it up with a different card, the one in front of me now. Big thanks for everybody tuning in. Don't forget, you can follow me at Barrett Gruber and Bill at Political Bill SC. You can catch us live every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 a.m. Eastern. Until next time, you all stay safe, be kind, and keep your hands to yourself.